Excellent. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, wrestling fans of all age, it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce our first inaugural guest here on NWA Spotlight. Our guest is a friend of mine, not only a friend, but a brother, and he and I go back 20 plus years, and forever my brother, three-time NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion, one-time NWA World Champion, even though it was unrecognized and only for a couple of minutes, and he did beat the NWA World Champion Steve Corino for that honor right here in East Hartford, Connecticut. Ladies and gentlemen, my honor, my friend, my brother, my stablemate from the Brotherhood. We ain't having fun if you got to dial 911. Ladies and gentlemen, the Boston-born, Boston-bred, Boston-bad to the day he Boston dead, the BBB, Jason Rumble. Brother, welcome to NWA Spotlight.
Holy crap, bro. Wow. I feel honored and privileged with that type of announcement. But I should know, man, Mickey Biggs does his homework as always. That's why he is the benefactor, and he is the man, the myth, the legend, known as Mickey Biggs, baby.
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I have the Professor Rick Del Santo. Rick, it's finally great to
I'm glad to talk to you, man.
And I'm just my regular before we get into the whole wrestling spiel, my regular life right now, man. Besides having 2 kids, being married, everybody knows what that's like. I'm putting 12 to 16-hour days in right now at my work. I free up in about 10 days, and I really want to make what I'm doing to a certain extent reach the next level. And I have huge respect and huge love for the podcasts such as what you guys are doing. We are really not just hitting it to one level, you're hitting it to multi-levels. You want to be seen, you want to be heard. And man, I want to be just like you guys. I'm horrible at the technical mumbo jumbo, and that's why I'm not afraid to tell people I fail in that aspect of life. But
we got you, Rumble. Don't worry about it. We got you,
brother. I love you. I love you. Thank you, guys. I love you.
We're working on something right now, and once everything's done, I'll let you know. I
love it when you go into my studio and do all this happy stuff. I'd like not his background in general, but the background is phenomenal. I love the background I'm looking at with the ring, the awesome lights. Like, bro, I love it. I love the bug up, and I love the bug up in the corner. Like, this is like I don't understand anything over to the right on my StreamYard app. I understood how to implant the couple of things that Mickey Biggs has made for me, and how to make the little annoying ticker that goes along the bottom.
And that's the part that I don't know how to do, but I figured everything out on my own. I always I play around and try not to break it.
See, the fact is, I'll stop playing around it, and that's when I go hardcore and I break it. So
that's why Jason doesn't play, because if he does, he gets himself into trouble every time.
Not good.
Listen, if he could play around with technology the way he promotes, he'd be he'd have $1 million company going on.
I'd be like that guy that everybody hates that had the Netflix special on how he re-upped the United States of America space program. What's his name? He owns Tesla.
You're talking about what's his name there?
The guy everybody hates right now.
Yeah.
It is what it is, man. He got money. Everybody hates people with money.
Elon Musk.
Yes. And like Tony Rumble, my mentor, said, good news, bad news. You're in the news.
That's it.
Yep.
There's no such thing as bad press.
Yes. Well, boys, I want to thank you very much for having me on tonight. NWA, as you know, I have a huge tradition in the NWA family. and I'd be happy to talk about what my time was like with NWA, some of the things I'll talk about anything. I'll talk about the current NWA on what I see about whatever you guys want to throw at me. I'm ready to go.
Well, two things I want to point out real quick is one of our listeners, Andy, says that he loved your dad.
Oh, and thank you very much.
That, and friend of me, the Mick, is all right by me. So.
Also, I want to know about what it was like working with, the Boston Bad Boy, Tony Rumble. I grew up watching him, on ICW TV, IWCCW TV, and such, and. As a kid, I think I finally got to meet him as somewhat an adult in a CWA show here in Connecticut somewhere, which was, to me, was just amazing. I thought.
What year was that? What year was that?
I'd have to say it was in the 90s sometime.
Okay. Late 90s, early 90s, Danbury, Connecticut.
I'd have to
Toyota dealership, which was,
you remember the Toyota dealership? I remember.
Buddy, yes, I jobbed to King Kong Bundy, as formerly known as Jason Rage.
I might have been at that show. Because I know I went to
Bundy.
I know there was a few inside the car dealership, and I know there was a few that they did on the outside in the parking lot as well.
What a hot time that was!
Yeah, I remember going to a bunch of those over there. So
okay,
but I do remember seeing you as Jason Rumble back in the day too. But I want to know what it was like working with Tony.
All right, man. So I'm about to blow. You know what's good about these shows is that I know that. If people do their due diligence on really researching me, I do good at keeping kayfabe. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background on and whatnot. Okay. So I look a lot like Tony. I ain't Tony's son. Do I wish I had a guy like Tony Rumble that could have been my father? Fuck yeah. He is the proverbial Arthur Fonzarelli of the goddamn world. Just the dude when he came in, snapped his fingers, whether it was ladies, whether it was just person, he captured the room. And to be told that I would be able to carry on his lineage from his wife, from his two stepdaughters, because they felt I not only looked like them, I acted like them. As we all know, Tony and I share the same hobby as one Rob Van Dam. Our favorite time of day is 420, brother. So that really got us in. That got me in. And for those times, I'm going to give you some good. I took some beatings by people who took it as an insult that Tony and I meshed so well, as if he was my father, that people got jealous tendencies in that locker room, that all of a sudden I became Tony's ride. I started going over the house and hanging out with them, and the family started calling me their son. Okay? Now, Tony and I have a connection that actually goes back since I was around 10 years old. Tony used to be a lead bouncer at the top strip club in Boston, Mass, known as the Glass Slipper. Guess whose mother worked there? Okay.
All right.
So I had in ins, my mother passed away when I was 17 years old in 1988. So by the time I got involved in wrestling in 97, once I was really able to meet Tony, and what made things add up in his brain is it was my second wrestling match for CWA Century Wrestling Alliance. It was a 6-man match. It was done in Revere, the Revere High School football stadium. So it was outdoors. My Uncle Lenny, who's my mother's twin, came to see me wrestle for the first time. Now, other guys will attest to this. When you train together, the way that you lay shots in is 20 times different than when you're working somebody for the first and or second time.
Mm-hmm.
You're light. But when we was at Kowalski's and the way we trained, Walter used to love it when we would potato the shit out of each other and really make it look real.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my uncle watching me wrestle for the first time. His twin sister's son, who has passed away. And when I tell you my mother was beloved by her 4 other brothers, my mother was beloved. So me being looked after by my uncles, yeah, man. So my uncle proceeds to see me and my good friend Damon Doc Angelo. The 6-man match, melees to the outside. We're just beating the shit out of each other. And we fight all the way back to the locker room. Well, I didn't know my uncle tried jumping in. And the security had to push him away. So Tony comes up to me and goes, "Hey, that's your Uncle Lenny out there?" Didn't even know he knew my Uncle Lenny. Okay? I was like, "How do you know my Uncle Lenny?" He's like, "Oh, he was just out there. He tried to get on Damon. He thought this was real." I go, No. How do you know my Uncle Lenny?" He goes, "I've known your Uncle Lenny for about 15 years. I didn't know you were Mary's son. She used to talk about you all the time." As soon as that happened, we were inseparable. Inseparable. I was his ride. All of a sudden, we started betting together. We loved football and shit like that. We used to get together and I'd get together with his family. I'd go over and watch Friends on a Thursday night over there. They'd make me dinner. I became his personal. I became the man that gave him his big sack of buds. I became that guy for him. I'm telling. This is true wrestling right here that I am bringing to you on NWA Spotlight.
And I can vouch because I've known Jason for a long time. So I know he's not to lie.
Truth be told, man, everybody thinks that that's my dad. If you look at, I was cut off at the knees. I wasn't given the height in that gene. He treated me like he was my kid. And I guarantee if I was his kid, I wouldn't have been Jason Rumble right away. I would have been that son that he hid. He would have came up with a gimmick. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, bang, I earn Dad's trust and I get the family name. Him passing away, was a horrible thing for the New England independent wrestling scene. I'll say it right now. Hands down the best promoter. I believe that Tony Rumble, if he was alive today, would have a company bigger than Game Changer Wrestling.
Good.
Yep. It wouldn't be like Ring of Honor or anything, but he'd be drawing 3,000-4,000 people at least.
Yeah.
And he'd have some type of relevant television deal.
Wasn't he booking for the Savoldis for quite some time, right?
Yeah, man. And they know what's funny is I got to live all his footsteps. I became the booker. I became a writer for the Savoldis. And I was an on-air announcer, all for the Savoldis, for NWA on Fire.
Oh, NWA. Okay.
Yep.
I
ended up following in the same footsteps as Tony Rumble.
That's
so
amazing.
it's just really uncanny that we share those similarities, and I always protected the kayfabe. When Ellen came to me in the kitchen with Donna and Michelle and said, you are going to be the new Boston bad boy, Jason Rumble, son of Tony Rumble. You grew up on the corner of, I believe it was Some Avenue and LaGrange, and we brought you up in the apartment above the hot dog shop. And wouldn't you know, if you go to that certain corner of LaGrange and whatnot, you go back to them years, there was a hot dog shop downstairs from the apartments that were upstairs. So Ellen had this all planned out, man. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And because I'm like you, man, I used to watch this guy on ICW Wrestling on Channel 25. My favorite all-time wrestler, Bob Backlund, went there and held up the fucking cardboard championship, and the fans held him just like when he won the belt in Madison Square Garden for the WWF. And I remember that as a prominent part of the Wrestling All-Stars that was on Saturday morning. And that's I got to wrestle my hero, my legit hero, Bob Backlund. Not only in a wrestling match, but I got to wrestle him in a collegiate style match, NWA on Fire. It's the full match is on YouTube. If you just hit Jason Rumble versus Bob Backlund, it pops up. You'll see it. I thought it was it was a real wrestling match, man. And for Bob Backlund had not wrestled a single match in I believe in 10 years. And because he was watching tapes of the Savoldi's, and I'm not, if people are listening out there, they're going to say, wow, I can't believe that arrogant cocksucker, that he's going to say Bob Backlund handpicked him and said, I want to wrestle him because he looks safe and I can trust my career in his hands. And they're saying, why is he talking to them on a radio show? Why ain't this guy backstage with the WWE writing and producing or on air like an AJ Styles? And he's only turning 50 like the rest of these 47 and 48-year-olds. I chose my life. I'm happy with what I've done, what I became. Would I take that? Hell yeah. But to get back to the point where I'm at, Bob Backlund handpicked me. Handpicked me. And for those of you who don't know, he's not a really big weed fan. For him to pick me, and what do you think? I stopped smoking on the tours? Fuck no. So for him to pick me, and we not only had one match, we had there's out there on NWA on Fire Files that are on YouTube that I think we have at least 3 more that are on part of their files. So I think I did 4 matches with him, but still he didn't work with anybody else. He worked with me. That was it.
There's a bunch of those episodes, NWA Fire episodes. The Savoldi's have their own streaming network.
Yes.
It's a $3 a month to subscribe. Andy Nichols, one of our listeners, says that he just found this match on YouTube. So,
well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah. Bob was wearing red shorts. Yes. Okay. I remember that phase. Didn't he come back to WWE in that gear at one point?
I think so. Yeah. Now that you say that, I think he did.
Shit, I feel even more honored and privileged. He wrestled me in gear that he worked in the WWE in.
I was just going to say, it sounded somewhat familiar.
He did the one-arm gimmick and picked me up and everything, man.
I had a chance to meet him 2 times in the last year, and maybe, within the last 2 years. He's a hell of a guy, man. I tell you, I first met him in 1994. I wrestled for my high school team, and here in Connecticut, he coached Rocky Hills High School's team, and we were opposing them.
Academy in Colchester.
Yeah, so I ended up just introducing myself to him. At the time, I grew up a huge Backlund fan, WWF in the 80s. And he's one of those guys because he was an amateur wrestler that became a professional, and that guy influenced me.
I know his whole background. He could have went on and won the Heisman Trophy as a running back in college. He was good in football.
What was I going to say about that? Did you ever read his book?
I'm going to be honest with you. Right now, Mickey Biggs is hopefully still in production of reading my first book for me to put it on sound so I can listen to it.
Good job, Mick. Good job.
Jason doesn't read very much.
I'm going to be honest, unless
he doesn't have time.
Unless it's sports or wrestling and it's paragraphed and it's right to the point. I'm not going to lie. After all the multiple head hits of 25 years of professional wrestling and already having adult ADHD and whatever other quirks I have, reading is not fun for me like it is for everybody else, because I have to read the shit over and over and over just for it to realistically retain. And then the next day, let's just, you know what I mean? I almost got to reread again just so I know what I'm going to read this time around.
For Jason, reading is not fundamental.
I don't have it. This year, I'm assistant coach on the high school baseball team. We are reading a book called Row the Boat by PJ Fleck. It's an incredible book that's written upon motivation and how to get teams to just basically row the boat together, to show the teamwork, how to call each other out, be responsible, this, that, and the other. If I didn't see the writing of this book on College Game Day 2 years ago, I wouldn't know as much as I've retained from hearing the head coach read it to us all. Because the book is only maybe 150 pages, and I don't have I realistically, if it's one of them voice books, I'll purchase it because it's Bob Backlund. I'd be honored and privileged to listen to it.
No, it's an incredible book. I myself don't have. I can tell you the last book I actually did read. I just don't have time to read, and it's I'm always doing some sort of research for the podcast or watching something to bring up on the podcast on top of working 3 jobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I hear you.
There's no real time. Andy Nichols just said that he found a match of yours taking on Rikishi.
So he sees me get stink-faced. Was an honor and privilege. Was in Nova Scotia. I worked for a company called UCW, and I give a shout out to Chuck Martin and Devin Shiddick for giving me the opportunity, for putting me in there on one tour such top superstars as Tatanka, Matt Hardy, and Rikishi, just to name a few. I worked with the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith Jr. On one of the tours, along with Sir Mo from Men on a Mission, just to name a few shotties.
Jay, I want you to tell the story of the heat you have with Tony DeVito.
Oh, man. So, DeVito, evidently, it was his ring. We were working for EWA, which at the time was promoted by Tony Atlas. And I really didn't know who he was in the business. I didn't realize who he was. So I was just some arrogant 2-year in the business piece of shit that I basically told him, fuck you. We're breaking not just one table in your ring, but we're going to break 2 fucking tables in your ring. And, I'm going to rip your canvas. And, that happened. And that drew me huge heat with DeVito, because I probably never got into this with you. Later on in life, when I became a backstage friend at ECW, because John Cronus is one of my good buddies, along with Perry Satin, and then again hanging out with Dreamer a couple of times, that I really didn't know the first couple of times I went back there. What had saved me is Walter loved Tony. So I believe that was one thing that saved me from realistically probably getting my what would have been at a young point in my life, my ass handed to me, and well deserved. I acted like an arrogant prick, and he owned the ring. We tore his canvas, and I basically flipped him the bird.
The Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy, is in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. My friend Andy Nichols wants to know, did you ever light one up?
He never wrestled Powerhouse Butch, but he did wrestle me under the Dark Angel character quite a few times.
He also wants to know,
of the Brotherhood.
Did you ever light one up with the Metal Maniac?
Oh, yeah, I have lit one up with the Metal Maniac, brother. Dude, one of my best times was because from trying out for the NFL combines and the XFL and things of that nature, I became best friends with Snooker's son that many people don't know him. His name's Kane Waller, and Kane, we called him Kane, graduated all Ivy from Harvard as a football player and was a cornerback. And him and I trained together. Great friend of mine. I'll get into the whole. That's how Christopher Nowinski really broke into the business, but he's not going to admit it. I wish I had never cashed his check, but I was broke in the business, so I had to. But I should have framed it because I never knew he was going to be famous. But anyways, let me get back to the Kane thing. Because I had such a great relationship with him, Snooker became one of my best friends. That was my second idol. I not only got to wrestle with Snooker, but the Dark Angel was part of that match on one occasion when Snooker was going to give the Superfly splash, but tags me back in and goes, "No, brother, tonight is your time to fly." He tags me back in, and I did the splash. Wakefield, Massachusetts. The best part about it, my next door neighbor, who was like my older brother, ran the Knights of Columbus. And I told him, I go, dude, when I bring Snooker in, we're all going out to the alley. We're going to get fucking stoned as shit. So my buddy couldn't believe it. He's like, I'm really going to smoke weed with Superfly Snooker. They used to call me Superfly when I was a kid. I jumped off of everything. I was 10 years, he's 10 years older than me. And I used to surprise him on Sundays during the NFL. And I jump off his bureau and splash him. He's 10 years older than me. I'm 8, 9, 10, 11. I used to come over to watch sports over his house and shit. And he was out drinking on a Saturday night, getting all fucked up. I didn't realize it until I really got older how much of an asshole I was to my next door neighbor. So later on in life, obviously, I was like, I'm going to pay Mulligan back. And lo and behold, we brought him to Wakefield, and he got everybody high, and everybody couldn't believe they're smoking weed with Jimmy Superfly Snooker. And not only that, but he's in this lowly Knights of Columbus that's there for weddings and funeral receptions and bar mitzvahs and, Catholic things like, confirmation and communion and crap and things of that nature. And here I am holding a professional wrestling show there with the WWE legend. So, yeah, I later on got to be friends with Snooker. Everybody knows Snooker and Metal Maniac would very much travel buddies. And brother, back in them days, brother, we like the powdered sugar, brother. We like the nose candy, brother. We like the powder the donut. You know what I'm saying? That was their thing, bro. There's one episode where Mass Madness and CWA Mass Madness, Snooker, it's a vignette, and it's just Snooker everywhere, just looking around going, who, you want to fly like Superfly? He was so high, and not on weed, but he was flying on like an 8-ball of Coke, and he was drinking fucking started drinking on the beach at 7 a.m. And I believe the Metal Maniac might have been right in his back pocket, brother. So, great guy. I love the Metal Maniac.
So, Jason, I remember that show you're talking about for another reason, and not just because Dark Angel was in the ring with Snuka, but memory serves me correctly, that's the night you tried to be big and bad and body slam the Dark Angel, and it kind of backfired on you.
Well, brother, I had a big ego, so I thought I was big and strong.
Oh, you were. You got him up, but
What comes up, they say, must come down.
yes, that's true. That's true. It must come down.
My story about the Metal Maniac, I interviewed him about 2 years ago. That dude talked for 4 damn hours. I'm telling you. 4 hours about him and Jimmy Snuka, basically.
Yep.
There was probably about 5 minutes about how he got into wrestling and such, but the other 3 and change were all him and Snuka, and then he still wanted to talk, and I'm like, dude, it's 2 a.m. I gotta
go. He was probably high on the booger sugar.
He's out there in Hawaii now.
Oh, yeah, right, shit. Exactly. Talk to us a little bit about your time as the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion.
All right, so my first title reign came in a 5-way during one of the conventions, and the top profile match that night at the convention was a young AJ Styles along with Christopher Daniels. That place, there was as in the locker room, we gave them a standing ovation. And so, needless to say, to go out there at a 5-way clusterfuck where there was absolutely no room to talk, and I'm not one for talking, but when it's a 6-way match, man, you got to have some fucking shit planned so it doesn't look the shit.
Like a cluster.
Yes. So there was no place to go and talk with anybody. More people, the people involved in the match, except for maybe myself and a couple others, really cared for what was going on that night. So needless to say, yeah, the match was good, I guess. I really haven't seen it. All I know is I had a great time being when I was the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion for a first time. And then I believe I went on to hold it. I think every reign I had lasted close to at least a year. And because I was the only guy that was actually not just staying in my home promotion, but I was taking my own money to go to other NWAs just to put myself on the card. And if the promoter paid me, it was a plus. So I did a lot of that. Freelancing, but I knew on myself it was making my resume look that much better. You know what I mean? So if I went out and I worked in NWA territory and say I drove Great Lakes, it's an 18-hour trip from Boston. Nobody knows that I drove out there for a hotel room. $50 gas, and realistically, if they drew a house, that I might get $50 extra and walk away with $100 bill. But that $100 bill was just, basically, 20 years ago, I can't even remember what gas costed. I that shit that's all just like subsequent, because the drugs we did during the road trips, you forget your memory. So anyways, but getting the room and having a place over your head, and realistically, after a while, getting to know people out on the road, they were already offering up their house because you became a brotherhood, and they loved it that you was going to hang out, and they looked forward to you. And that I got to make a great friendship with the kid from Titusville, PA. His name's Rocky Reynolds. Him and I, we made that belt go back and forth. I went out to Titusville, Pennsylvania. I dropped it to him in his hometown. He came back to Malden, Massachusetts, and made my life a dream again to become a 2-time NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion. And I think from there, I dropped it again to him, if I'm not mistaken. I forget who my second loss was from. My third was in a scramble match with Jarrell Clark and one other person, I believe it was, and that was out in the western part of Canada at an NWA convention. Then I'll tell you this, the one mistake that I regret making in my wrestling career was not canceling my England tour to just go to Japan one time to drop the title to Tiger Mask. If I knew then what I know now, I'm such an idiot. And I took a week and a half tour on realistically a tour that once I got there, that my agent that booked it for me did not let me know the criteria of said tour. I was working, I think, some of the shows for, I believe the promoter was Dennis Dixon that runs in England, and he likes to house with you, and he drives everybody in a van and stuff. And I guess when he heard I had my own room in Piccadilly Pub where I was staying and I had an entourage with me, he got all turned off and then canceled 6 out of my 10 bookings that I had. So I still had 4 bookings that I went and worked for. And, when I came back, yes, it basically covered my plane ticket and my room for stay. But I had that was 10 days of income I lost. And a regular job that I did have at the time. Or I could have had 10 other bookings in that. Or if the month before I had just agreed with David Marquez to go and drop the belt to Tiger Mask when I had been called out in Japanese newspapers back then. If Dave Marquez ever listens to this, I apologize for being a cement head and fighting you on that topic. I wish I had listened to you. I wish I had just gone to Japan. I think because my style of wrestling, if I went over there, I think I would have been a success. So I think that one turn would have turned into multiple turns because I would have been going to work for a major promotion. Tiger Mask just don't work for the fucking backyard promotion. Right. Work for I think I was going to New Japan or All Japan to work the guy. You know what I mean? Little old me, Jason Delegata. I grew up Jason Delegata, Malden, Massachusetts, just like Dusty Rhodes, son of a pizza maker. And son of a mother who danced the strip pole. My grandmother raised me. I dined with kings and queens, and I dined down in the piss hole on pork and beans. You know what I'm saying?
I do have a question because I did not know that you interacted with David Marquez at all during his involvement in the NWA. Yeah. What was that like working with David and communicating with him and such? He was involved for many, many years with the NWA. He's booked many, many NWA world champions. And, up until a couple of years ago, was still involved.
I always comment on Dave's page. I always give him compliments or I talk good with him. I think Dave does not like me. Honest to God. I think a lot of it has to do is because I help manipulate the board. I owned an NWA territory. I was able to make the boards, and it was always, can I tell you, it was really always left up to my vote, which way the board was always going to sway for the new elections, no lie. So my vote was always important. And I believe because my votes probably never worked out for the parties he wanted to work them out for, he thought I was, he thought I was a snake in the grass. I'm not going to lie, but this is a job. And just like everybody else, I want to get ahead in life. So if I felt voting for certain people bettered my career, and let's just face it, I'll say it right now. The NWA brought no money in. It did nothing for nobody. Okay. It just gave me more paydays, and it gave me the chance to hold a belt that was at one time considered the most prestigious wrestling company in the world. Owning an NWA, being part of the board, you made no money at all. It was just a thing to say, hey, I'm on the NWA board. Hey, I own NWA New England. Do you make money? No, I don't. But we have an awesome convention, and for 3 days we go. And do you get a room for that convention? No, we get a really good discount at $25 a night. So you stay there for 4 days. Yep, that's $100. Oh shit, really? Yeah. Then you have to eat 3 meals a fucking day times 4. You know what I mean? And them meals ain't light. Everybody's going out to drink after the shows or the meetings and this, that, and the other. Dude, I'm sorry to say I was a giant mark. That's what it is. They suck you in. You're spending money to wrestle. I don't give a shit. You're spending money to own a company that you're not making any money back. None of these guys made any freaking money. Their extracurricular activities is what did everything for them. We all had side hustles to make real money. Okay? I don't care what any of them say. Maybe they had shows where they did make money sometimes, but they weren't making Arab money, as they say nowadays. They was making steak and cheese, peanut butter and jelly money. You know what I mean? And if you're going to brag about that, like, I'm sorry. None of those guys are big hitters right now. Dave Marquez was Dave Marquez because he's Dave Marquez. He didn't own nothing. He's just a smart business dude that produced and did stuff for Disney, KTVLA. Like he had clout in a world that they wanted to be part of so bad. I owned NWA in New England when we used to be able, when the NWA world title was owned by TNA. That did nothing. And I used to put up I made billboards in the town I used to promote it. And in the middle of it, no lie, was a 20 by 20 logo of TNA Total Nonstop Action in the middle of it. Every Friday, first Friday of each month. And I used to keep that up. K of C, Sanford, Maine. And I used to keep that up. It helped me with absolutely dog crap. It did the same when I would come to Massachusetts. It did nothing, because at the time of their relevance or their beginning, when we had their belt and we thought we were special and we thought we were going to go on the rise again, yay, TNA wants to have our titles. You bunch of marks. TNA couldn't do anything. They had no TV deal, and they were making you pay for a weekly television product on pay-per-view. How do you think that that's doing anything for you? 90% of those poverty-stricken people that are wrestling fans looking at that go, we barely are able to afford the $50 pay-per-view that we have to have 7 buddies over our house, and we have to flip up the cushions to see if we got the extra change just so we can pay our mother off so that they'll order the pay-per-view. And you think you're going to sell a pay-per-view every week for $5 or $7 or $10, whatever it was?
$9.99. Yeah, it was $10. And I know a lot of people bought that stuff, but that was also the age. Don't forget, people had the scramblers as well.
Exactly.
So how many? And they weren't offering any monthly deals either if you bought them. Not like today where they do stuff like that.
Exactly.
It did no relevance for my product or anything at all. Honest to God, it did nothing for it.
It was more the prestige of it.
And not for nothing, a lot of people at that time period still, for many years, didn't even know TNA existed.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or even knew that the NWA was still around. That's the other thing. And
so, Jason, we were talking about your title reign. So your first one was actually October 13th, 2001, from the NWA 53rd anniversary show in St. Petersburg, Florida. And that's where you said you were in the 5-way match, and you defeated Lovett, Jimmy Rave, Brandon Kay, and BJ Turner.
Oh, cool. Couple of good names up there. Jimmy Rave and Lex Lovett, who did a cheerleader gimmick with his wife on Impact Wrestling. If anybody remembers that.
I remember that.
Then that's his wife.
Then, as you said, you did lose it to Rocky Reynolds, February 2nd, 2002 in Titusville, Pennsylvania. And that was for NWA East. And then you won it back a few days later, February 16th, in Malden, Massachusetts.
Wow, I didn't know it was that quick.
Yep. Yeah, Rocky Reynolds only held the belt for 14 days. And then you won it again. You dropped it back to Rocky Reynolds. Then it went to Jimmy Rave, Star, Jimmy Rave, Brother Love. And then you go all the way down. You took it back on October 17th, 2004 at the 56th anniversary show in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And it was a three-way match between you, Clark, and Vance Desmond.
Yep.
And then you lost it, let's see, August 25th, 2005, almost a full year later, in Tennessee, against the one and only Black Tiger 4.
And do you know who that was? Rocky Romero.
Okay.
So it was an honor and privilege to not only just drop it to Rocky, but drop it to the lineage of, we all know that the great Eddie Guerrero was one of the original Black Tigers. He feuded against the Pegasus Kid, as everybody does know that was the late, great Chris Benoit.
There is a question in the chat
Cool.
for you, Jason. Did you ever wrestle Chris Candido?
No, I never got the honor to wrestle Chris.
Okay.
Would have loved to. I met him a few different times, but never got to wrestle him.
Yeah, nice guy. I met him.
I was part of an angle with him in
94.
NWA Jersey was doing a show in yeah. I can't think of the name of the town now. It was in Connecticut, New Hartford and all that. Starts with a T, and I can't think of it. And did this whole angle with him and Sonny, where he had come into the ring and he was quote unquote drunk and he ended up getting arrested. I mean, it was just this whole great big angle that they pulled off. It was pretty cool.
Let me ask you,
is how much of it was kayfabe? Was he really drunk or not?
What was it like working with Knuckles Nelson?
Is this Knuckles asking? All right. So my first experience with Knuckles was a hot sunny day, and he used to come by Kowalski's and get ring time. And he was laying out on the deck, and Richard Burns opened the door, let us in. I probably had 2 months of experience, and I didn't tell him. And him and I sparred for a good half hour. Mm-hmm. And then when Walter came, Walter was like, "What are you doing in the ring?" So then, Nux is outside and hears this going on. And he goes, "Why did he yell at you?" I go, "I'm not supposed to be in the ring right now." He's like, "Why not?" I go, "Well, I've only been here for a little." I go, "I haven't even been here for 2 months yet." And he's like, "You let me throw you around to do it." So he got pissed at me. So right away, it wasn't really a good beginning with Knuckles. And when I go to the NWA, which is CWA, maybe about a year later, he don't remember me. All he remembers is myself, Luis Ortiz, Slyck Wagner Brown, and Beau Douglas. We're 4 new guys, and Tony's looking for new blood. He takes us all on, and that's because of the great smooth operating gangster Trey, who is also a fellow Kowalski alumni. He was looking out for his brothers. And so let's just put it this way. Knox was one of the people that, he drove with Tony. And then when I came along,
gotcha.
I told you.
He was on the outside looking in.
Exactly. And Eric Sprazier, out of the original, they're the Brotherhood. We're the Brotherhood 2K, man. We're like the NWO recreated. My version compared to Tony Rumble's version. I don't insult it. Those guys are the trendsetters. They laid the table for the future Brotherhood later on in life. That had myself, Big Rick Fuller, the Dark Angel protected our back. We had a few more riffraff in there. But
Yep.
we ran hell, and we kept the motto that we ain't having fun till we got to dial up 911. So we hop ahead later in life to the hot dog safari in either 97 or 98. And a young Jason Rage, along with Slyck Wagner Brown. At this time, we were flying high on WNDS with the NWA New England. We had our own show. We were getting so much press that when we used to go to the Garden to see when Raw came to town, the fans knew who the fuck we were. And let's just face it, if anybody on here during the 16 weeks it was on, it was dominated by a group known as the 2K Club. And that was myself, Slyck Wagner Brown, and Luis Ortiz, otherwise known as LO to you, and SWB and JR right here. And that was the way that we were supposed to trend. Tony Rumble was like, you three are the future of professional wrestling. We got the street witty, street tough looking Italian guy. We got the Jamaican black dude. We got the Puerto Rican flavor. We have a legit group of all in one. You guys are the 2K Club. You're revolutionary. And dude, we rolled with it. And when other boys in the back felt the love that Tony Rumble not only just gave myself, but Wagner, Lewis, and to the same extent of Beau Douglas getting pushed to the moon by Tony right away, becoming a television champion, getting involved in a tag team with Steve Morabito, later on having a great successful run while Tony was alive and well. Tony had big things planned for Beau. When he looked at Beau, that's why when he later on became my top baby face, I named him Back Home Beau Douglas, because Tony used to say he looks like one of them kids from them fucking boy bands. Douglas, you make me puke. You know what I mean? So like Tony, that was Tony for you. So we're at the hot dog safari. We're carrying a huge wave of momentum. The show is hot. The characters are hot. And I think because of my closeness with Tony, there was almost an accident that was a purposeful accident of a power bomb, and he realistically tried to drop me on my head and break my neck.
Wow.
And that's supposed. I seen pictures. I was told these things, that at the last second, Eric Sprazier was able to fucking help things out. I feel bad in a way for even bringing this up, because Knuckles and I have come to a love and a mutual agreement that I never held any animosity towards him. He was one of the guys that when I became the son of Tony Rumble, got a huge hatred for me, and we put it all behind us. But that was a different side of Knuckles. Now he's just a different person. He's broadened his horizons. He's a totally different dude. And I shouldn't even bring those up, but those are some of the real life things that I remember. But at the same time, between the time of me taking Tony's name and the incident at the hot dog safari, he used to come over my house, him and Big Woody, and we'd smoke weed for fucking hours, shoot the shit. So I don't know what to believe. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But do I believe that he tried to give me tough love and break me in the right way? Yes. But that's what you were I'm sorry. The young generation, they don't do that nowadays. They call that bullying. To be a professional wrestler and keep kayfabe, you have to have a certain toughness in you. And if you don't have it, but nowadays you're taught that everybody belongs. So even if you don't know how to if you're not a big guy, like Mickey Biggs is a big dude. he should never really theoretically have to do a forward roll bump because he's so big. If somebody could forward roll bump Mickey Biggs, you better get out of that dude's way because he just fucking forward fucking hip toss, body slam a dude that's 300 pounds, 275, whatever it may be. It's a fucking big motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain characters that really don't need to do all that. But if you're a 185-pound kid and you can't take a forward roll or you can't take a back bump correctly, but you can do a 450 splash finisher, that person thinks that they deserve to be in the ring nowadays. And that's a huge stigma that I believe has come to the sport of the everybody belongs bullshit, which realistically it's not. Farthest thing from the truth. Like, people like that could get themselves hurt or hurt somebody else.
Absolutely.
So working with Knuckles to finish my subject, Knuckles and I other than that supposed situation, I don't have a bad word to say about Knuckles Nelson.
Awesome. We do have a question from a listener. Did you ever wrestle Bert Centeno?
Ha 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 ha!
I used to see him on the fair circuit around here in the early to mid 90s.
He did the character El Mascarado.
Yeah.
And I wrestled him in my first ever singles match, my second match ever as a professional, 1997-ish. In J, Maine, at a high school fundraiser for EWA. Tony Atlas and James St. Jean were the promoters. I got the booking from Walter, and Walter goes, "You're going to go up and you're going to work for Tony, Mr. USA Atlas. He's going to pay you very well, and he will give you a hotel room." And Walter goes, "If he pays you any less than $125 and your room is not adequate, you let me know, and I will call that cocksucker and I will get them what he owes you." So I was like, "All right, Walter, thank you, man."
That was Walter.
So I go up, I wrestle for Tony Atlas. And, no, he never asked me how long I've been wrestling, how long I've been doing this. I'm not going to lie, man. I'm very lucky that I understood the basics of wrestling before I ever got into wrestling. I came from playing semi-pro sports and trying out for professional football. So my way of looking at film and breaking down games, even when it came to pro wrestling, I didn't understand that my brain retained so much shit that once I got in there, it's no lie, it was like my brain was a PlayStation 4 game. That's how advanced I was able to take stuff and understand what the basics meant, understand that if I was lost, to let myself be known I was lost. I knew how to grab a hold. I knew how to get out of the hold. The best part is I knew how to listen and how to protect myself. So having those things and understanding that and going against Bert, we had a barn burner of a match. It went about 25 minutes. The finish is he sets me up on a fucking table and does a senton bomb from running inside the ring, jumping over the top rope to the outside.
Oh, Jesus.
Throws me back in, pins me. Him and Tony Atlas are fucking loving life, this, that, and the other. And finally, after about 15 minutes of praise, they go, how long you been working? 2 years, 3 years? That shit was awesome. I go, I just started wrestling class 10 months ago. This is my first ever singles match. Bert flipped. How could you let me take advantage of you like that? I could have killed you. You don't know how to go through a table. I go, yes, I do. I just went through it. And he goes, who are you trained by? Who are you trained by? I go, Walter Killer Kowalski, the same guy you were trained by. I go, Walter told me how to listen, and as long as I knew how to listen and I knew how to protect myself, if I felt any uncomfortability, I would have known how to take over the match, get you in a hold, and let you know I cannot do that. I go, so I want to let you know I was fully comfortable with everything you did for me. They love that I said that. 5 minutes later, Tony Atlas pulls me outside. He goes, Jason, man, I'd love to book about 6 more of you. And I was like, what do you mean 6 more of me? 6 more people that look just like you and performs just like you. I go, but that's impossible. I can't clone myself. Okay, so where you come from, you think you can get me 6 people that are close like you? I go, Tony, I can get 6 people that some of them could be better than me. You now are my assistant, because he couldn't say assistant booker for EWA. Use Tony Atlas, assistant booker. My second match, right here. God's truth. I stepped into the sport so freaking lucky. I was the guy that if you watch Life of a Pro Wrestler on MTV, when Tony Atlas is on the phone canceling the show, I'm the guy on the other fucking line sitting in Fuddruckers in Saugus, Massachusetts. And I'm like, I was having a conversation with them saying, I'm not coming up because the shows are going to be canceled. And James St. Jean is putting locks on the doors and ain't even going to let the MTV crew film. And that was the last week of basically them getting EWA footage. Needless to say, does the show go on? Yeah, I sent 4 Kowalski guys that were basically never really wrestled in their life, but were looking for bookings, and they were so avid on going. They didn't care if the show was going to get canceled. The show did happen, but the bell didn't start till almost 9:30 at night by the time they were able to pull the strings to make the show be able to go on.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, I had a great time wrestling with Bert. And then later on, obviously, after wrestling for Bert put me in some great matches for him while he was running up in Worcester. So, you know, I think that, like, I put my career as this. I know that I was height deficiency. I had good size. I had good mic skills. I believe that I could have been a big star for Little Fish, but like if I was in the 80s, I would have been Barry Horowitz, or I would have been our great friend, Mr. Mario Mancini, which can I tell you something?
I know Mario.
That's more of a compliment. I understand. I'm one of the guys that understands what enhancement talent means. If you don't have a guy that doesn't make all your moves look crisp, take the right bumps, take the right, just sell in and whatnot, you're not going to help make the character that they want on television.
Exactly.
So those guys during the 80s and early 90s and the 70s that went out there and made all these stars look fucking awesome, I would have had no. When I went to Florida, I had no idea that people like B. Brian Blair and Barry Horowitz were champions of the independent promotions down there. So realistically, even though you was a jobber or enhancement talent, when you went to visit them on the indie scene, they were the top stars of those promotions.
Look at somebody like Iron Mike Sharp. When he first arrived into the WWF, he headlined Madison Square Garden with Bob Backlund. Less than a year later, he's jobbing all over TV.
Yep. Yes, he was. And he was, he was a main event many times in Toronto's Maple Leaf Gardens, the famous Maple Leaf Gardens.
A big star before he went to WWF.
Yeah. And they just listen. I believe they made him the Brooklyn Brawler before the Brooklyn Brawler. Yep. I think having that gimmick on his arm, no matter win, lose, or draw, it made that the gimmick on his arm made the character. So I think the adage of wrestling in the old days was written with pencil was a perfectly written script, because I don't think many people really remembered any of that stuff.
No, not at all.
Right.
So, Jay, I want to ask you, and I witnessed this firsthand, so I got to ask you. It was 2002 Summer Sizzler Tour, East Hartford, Connecticut. You went one-on-one with the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Steve Corino. Tell us your thoughts going into that match, and tell us your thoughts after that match.
All right. So, Steve Corino on a CWA show made me realize that I could become a professional wrestler because he looked like a version of the Lightning Kid, which was the 1, 2, 3 kid well before getting in, but even skinnier and more and more scrubbier looking with his wet, slimy hair. And he was as thin as a pinky. And I looked and I'm like, I could do this. So about a year and a half later, that's when I influenced myself that finally I was going to try to become a professional wrestler and know that I was not only wrestling the NWA World Champion, I wanted to show him that I could go with him. So I think this was the first real guy that I felt that was like a legit pro. Like, dude, this guy was ECW. This guy was WWE to a certain extent. This is Steve frickin' Corino. Huge international star. Like, this was the first filet mignon that I got in a wrestling ring, so to speak. Not a knock against any other opponent I've ever had. If people feel I'm not. I'm just saying this guy fed his family. This guy housed his family off of pro wrestling and was a legit superstar. He could have been the drizzling dog shits for all I know. But I wanted to get in the ring with him and prove to him that this dude, Jason Rumble, trained by Walter Killer Kowalski, he's no fuck. I'm no pushover. I know my shit, and I wanted him to respect me in that way, shape, or form. And the best part is when he got there that day, he suggested the dusty finish. He suggested the whole Flair thing with the title drop, me getting it, and then me, going, no, I don't work by the hour, the whole promo. And when he called the kid Squirrel, then the reason why he knew because on the college campus, the word around town is you're called Squirrel because you always got nut in your mouth. That was like him and I going back and forth on that mic was one of the greatest times in the world to hear Mark Green go, and new NWA. Like, it brought me back to the night that I walked in the house and Ric Flair had dropped the title to the hands of Stone, Ronnie Garvin. And I heard, and new NWA, Gary Capetta, heavyweight champion of the world, the hands of Stone. It was awesome. And to have my name echoed throughout the building, to be locked into a title with such lineage, held by the greats of like Ric Flair, Harley Race, Dusty Rhodes, Terry Funk, Dory Funk, just to name a few. To have my name echoed in that, whether or not it lasted for 2 minutes, 2 seconds, I held that belt, and I was recognized for that time as the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Incredible. And to kick off that night, Mr. Mickey Biggs, along with his co-host, presented me with an award that, has not yet been hung up in my new home, but will soon be being hung up to my wall. I still have it. And I hang it with I look at it with pride every time I look at it. And as corny as people may think that a person taking the cutouts from a magazine and putting it like that meant the world to me, man. And I just want to let you know I still appreciate you doing that for me. No matter how corny people think that is in life, like, dude, I call that one of my prized possessions. I can look at that. My kid will look at that.
Something from the heart.
Exactly. So, like, the best gift, like, it's just like a parent said, the best gift they could get is when a kid makes that card from their heart with the crayon and the fucking whole, like, that's like that, like, and I look at it that way. can get me any gold plaque, but take your time to cut that stuff out, piece it, and go, fucking Jay's gonna love this. Yeah, because everything came from your heart, and I couldn't appreciate that more.
I remember that night very well. The Snooker was on that card. Steve Corino was on that card. That's the night that Dark Angel actually beat the hell out of my co-host from Wrestling Spotlight. Beau Douglas came out to make the save. As you walked out of the ring that night, you gave that look to the Dark Angel, and that was the beginning of the end. That was the start of Dark Angel joining the Brotherhood. And that was also the night that started off with the giant feud between Dark Angel and Mickey Biggs, because he had a restraining order against me. Mickey Biggs was actually outside the arena that night. And that's the same night that Dark Angel beat Beau Douglas for the NWA New England Television Championship, but had to drop it right back to him because it wasn't TV, so it didn't count.
We got a question here from Andy. Did you guys see the Joey Janela flaming foot incident, and what are your thoughts? I know it's a little off topic, but
no,
I'd love to hear your thoughts on this if you saw this.
I didn't. I'll be honest with you. I missed the 2 GCW shows this weekend. I'm so pissed at myself because anybody who's out there that knows I'm a huge GCW fan. Anybody that listens to me, oh, bro, lately the shows haven't, to me, been as violent as they used to be when Alex, like, they were doing way more death matches a year or two ago, and like it's not as death matchy as it used to be, and that's what, me as a fan, that's what made me enjoy it, because like I still enjoy watching WWE, and the reason why I enjoy watching WWE is I have a 12-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son, and I love watching the enjoyment that my kids get from it. It's such a joy. I watch AEW just for the simple fact on how I used to watch WCW back in the day. I watch it for the matches. I do not watch it for the storyline angles.
I have a 6-year-old as well, and every Tuesday, 6 o'clock, he knows it's NWA time. He is a huge. I think it's because I was watching it every Tuesday, 6:05 every week, and he just got used to it, and now that's something that he and I, do together, have in common, and he just sits there. It's Tuesday, Dad. It's NWA day.
So, since we might as well ask, I'm going to be honest with you. I watched one NWA show since the comeback.
Okay.
And I believe it was their first pay-per-view, might have been Hard Times, I think they called it.
Okay, since the comeback of the since COVID, you're speaking.
Or it was one that was a few months back, but it was done out of.
Go ahead, sorry.
But it was done out of the TV studio that they're normally in.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't think the talent was that they had used. Like some of the newer talent, I didn't think was like up to that standard. And to see that there was basically more empty chairs than people, like for real, like ultimately noticeable, it was hard for me to watch.
It was very hard. That pay-per-view you're referring to, I believe, is Hard Times 2.
Yep.
I do think that was a rough pay-per-view. That was their first show back.
Yep.
They had COVID guidelines in that building still. You know what I mean? So they were only allowed initially. That building was sold out initially, but then obviously the TV studio that they film in ended up getting involved and ended up forcing refunds on some people. So then they only ended up having something like 50 people as opposed to whatever, the 300 that they fit in that TV studio.
Yeah.
So that kind of backfired on them because a lot of people looked at it like this shouldn't even be happening. The pay-per-view was rough because they brought in a lot of talent that hadn't worked there before, and it was just really hard to sit through. Bringing in somebody like Tyrus. Tyrus looked like he was blown up about 60 seconds into his match.
Yeah, he should just go back to talking politics on Fox Sports, on Fox News.
Since then, so what? It's been over a year, probably closer to. It's been closer. It's been over a year since they've come back. It has improved greatly, especially lately in their Saturday morning program that's on YouTube is really good and fast paced.
I'll have to give it a check. I'll because I'm on here, I'll have to give it a check out. A few years back, I reached out to Mr. William Corgan, whatever the hell his name is, and I had I had sold my interest to him on that. I wasn't looking to come to wrestle, but I would love a chance to have a backstage spot, and he cordially never even looked at it. And then when they did that NWA World Junior Championship tournament, it's like some of these guys, man, like I don't understand why some people don't look at history. I really believe the reason why they don't look at like myself or Rocky Reynolds is because they hate anybody from the Howard Brody, Richard Arpin, Jim Miller days in the NWA.
Billy seems to have this thing. Now, mind you, I'm a huge NWA fan. I watch their current product every week, but the same thing, I do have to agree with that. He seems to either, depending on what the storyline is and what's going on, he'll dive deep into the history, and sometimes he'll just completely ignore it. You know what I'm saying? Like it all depends on how he feels about that particular subject. And it's kind of annoying in certain times,
Absolutely. You can't, like Jason said, you can't deny the history of that NWA Junior Championship, but they've done that.
No, yeah,
they brought him back. You know what I mean? Are they gonna go through the fact that a guy like me who's held it 3 times, I'm basically one of 2 that has held it multiple, like over 3 times. I believe the other guy would be Mario Savoldi's father,
Angelo.
Yep.
I
believe I broke his record. I believe I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that me and maybe one other person has held the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship 3 times. I think
let's bring the history up right now.
I think everybody else has held it maybe twice. I could be wrong.
Right now. So Kevin Fenelon, who was the first champion, held it 1, 2. He held it twice. Marshall Estep held it twice. Billy Golis twice. There's not many people. Mike Clancy twice. Angelo Savoldi 3 times, 4 times.
Oh, so Angelo held it more times than me.
5 times. So Angelo held it 5 times.
All right.
You 3. Yeah, there's nobody that's held it more than 3 other than Angelo that I've seen. So yeah, you and Angelo have the record for the most title times held.
I want to ask you a question,
baby.
You did bring something up. You brought up Howard Brody. What was it like working with Howard Brody? During that time period, he is a guy that was heavily involved in a very, very long time.
Howard Brody was my biggest supporter. If it wasn't for Howard Brody, I would have never gotten my shot for the NWA. I had already been wrestling in Florida for Rusty Brooks's promotion in Fort Lauderdale. I've been like a mainstay there for like 2 years. Then there was another little promotion down there ran by Bobby Rogers that I worked for. Bobby Rogers is most famously famous for trying to sell his organs online back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah, it made like national news and everything. Hilarious, funny shit. So, and then I worked for Bill Brown's Florida Championship Wrestling. And I started working for Howard. Then Howard Howard loved my stuff. And he was a huge advocate for my push and my rise in Florida. From getting to work for him, I went on and I was Kenny Garrett, who was Santana Garrett's dad, became one of my best friends in the business. I lived at Santana Garrett's house when they were just growing up. They were probably my kids' age, 11, 12 years old. And I lived at their house for a summer. And I trained Kenny's wrestlers for him. And Kenny used to drive me around. I used to have like 6, 7 bookings in a week, Friday nights, double and triple shots. And Kenny, his whole thing was, I'll let you live at my house for free. I'll pay you to train my wrestlers. And then he goes, I'll give you, and then I'll work this deal with you, because he owned this part of his brother's construction company. The part he owned was the downspouts and things of that nature. But he had a crew that used to put all this stuff up. So what I used to do is I used to take these cement footings that were forms that were I call them duck's feet that you put under your drain so the water drains away from your house. He made them out of cement. So there was 100 forms. 50 had to be in circulation at a time. So you make 50, you let them dry. And then you make another 50 the midway through, so that when they dry, everything was in rotation. So I was getting $1 a day for each form I fucking made. So I was making anywhere from 50 to 100 forms a day. He had one of his wrestlers used to pick me up, drive me to the gym, bought me a membership. It was an incredible YMCA. And then he would take me to this wicked awesome Japanese grill where the Japanese guy used to let me take lo mein and fresh beef with garlic or chicken with so anyways, Howard Brody, if it wasn't for Howard Brody, I would have never, my career at wrestling in Florida would have never been as strong as it had for like a 4 to 5 year span.
Andy wants to know, did you ever work for Ron Nemi in Florida, and did you ever work a team called the Vandals?
I did work for Ron Nemi, and I really can tell you this. There's so many people that I worked over my career. The name doesn't stand out, but if I didn't work them, I probably knew them.
All right.
Yes, I knew Ron Nemi. I believe he was the promoter at the WrestlePlex where I won the championship.
It was NWA Florida, I believe, or IPW.
Yeah, I worked for Ron Nemi. I believe I worked Jet Jaguar for him.
Oh, okay. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Jeez.
Yep, Jet and I locked horns a couple different times. Me and Lex Lovett we feuded for almost 8 months in Florida.
Let me ask you something.
Lex was a hell of a talent.
I came across something while doing some research today. Now, this is a name that was probably pretty well known in, working for the Savoldis, and he was a enhancement talent, if you will, for lack of a better term, in WWF. But you did work with, where the hell is it? Tony Ulysses. What the hell was that like?
Tony, man, that was the crown jewels. That's what I did, an alter ego gimmick known as Bad Boy Jason. I was a confused young man and did not know that my best friends were on the other side of the fence. And yeah, we were so into the gimmick. We was gonna go. They wanted to go dance in the gay parade. I was like, dude, I am not doing that. Not just because I didn't want to do it, but imagine going into a parade and your gimmick is a gay dude and you ain't a gay dude and you're playing a gay dude and you do it better than the gay dude. And then come to find out that you ain't a gay dude, and now the gay dude knows. What if that gay dude takes it as an insult and then wants to, you know what I mean? So I didn't want I didn't want them to think we was bashing them or any of that. Like I want to know, because I just at the time in life there's two sides to a coin. Some may think that that's funny, or oh wow, we appreciate you, but they're just always that dude that's gonna be like, you're making fun of us. That's an insult. You shouldn't have been doing. Like
nowadays, it'd be a hate crime.
yes,
Yeah.
So, Soul Man, he had a partner, and they used to be the tag team champions in Bedlam from Boston, and Tony Ulysses and Grant, and that was the name of the team. And they used to feud against Richard Byrne and Dan Petrie. I remember it so well. Bedlam from Boston on Sunday afternoons at noontime on Channel 25. So he's another guy. Like, I grew up watching this guy on television.
Same. Yeah.
And then he becomes my manager. And he loved, like, this guy told me when I was going through a real good hot streak on other promotions when I wasn't doing Bad Boy Jason. And he just loved my matches. He loved the way that I didn't talk a lot. He used to love it when I would say in the back to the boys, we got 15 minutes. I'm over. Why don't we just, we'll do the ordinary work back and forth. This is the double down, and we'll shoot a couple of falsies, and this is the finish. We never called the fall. I never called falsies with anybody. I just hoped that they had watched me wrestle in the past, because 9 out of 10 people, if I was on the card, even the day and age of not truly having internet, I already had watched guys wrestle. So I already had a good idea on what I could do with them and what they could do with me. And I just, listen, Al Snow said it best, that we live in the map, and he said it before GPS. He said, you guys all live in the MapQuest generation, whereas I live in the map generation. So if I come up to a roadblock, MapQuest ain't telling me where the fuck to go. But you know what that map in my hand is going to do? It's going to tell me where to go. Wrestling matches are not a guaranteed journey. It's a guaranteed time to the end, but what goes on between to the end, no one can dictate. So to have this, who's to say it's going to go this? And when you concentrate on making it go this, you take everything out of it to a certain aspect, because you need the fans to cheer. Once you stop acknowledging the fans that are there, it don't matter what you're doing in that ring. It becomes unentertaining, because you're not wrestling for the fans. You're now wrestling for yourself, and that's not what it's about. So I had always listened to the fact that it was going to be a better way for me, because I was going to stand out differently on a card, because my matches were always going to look like they was kind of like a fight. Right.
All right. Mick, what do you have?
They were fights a lot of times. And like I said, I've shared the ring with you numerous times, and I can't recall one time that I ever saw a match that you were a part of that just it didn't look real.
Thank you.
It was, I'm trying to recall, and I can't recall.
I used to have really good matches with the masshole Mike McCarthy. We used to love to beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, I mean, even like some of the stuff when the Brotherhood attacked Beau Douglas, and I remember one of the TV tapings. You had Vinny Capelli, and I think it was like the Crossface or something. I can't remember.
Yeah,
And
that's what I had to take him out. That was Malden, Massachusetts.
And I mean, it looked so real, and even
he was going in for real legit shoulder surgery, so we had to come up with a way where we could get him off TV.
So, and I mean, and I remember it, and I remember that same show because literally things had changed up at the last second, like literally, and they told me, and here I come out, they tell me you got to run down to the ring and splash Beau Douglas. I run down to the ring and I have no shoes on, no nothing, because I was just in the middle of changing. So I have to squash Beau Douglas. Well, you got Vinny Capelli in the crossface, so it looks even more real that Beau is not getting up to attack you.
Yep.
So I mean, I cannot recall a match that I've ever seen with you that did not look like you were really tearing the house down with somebody.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Let me see. Why don't you tell me about the formation of the Bell Time Club?
All right. So the formation of the Bell Time Club is myself, a gentleman named Ken Kelly, who is a Everett promoter, Everett, Massachusetts, did a promotion that just basically ran 2 different venues, Saugus and Everett, Massachusetts, known as Ringside Entertainment. And along with Sammy Makua, who's a great friend of mine, they were looking to start a wrestling school. And they had this wish list, okay, of all these guys that they think are going to join this school. And they needed the one guy who, I had an established a name of credibility that they could use and value. And plus I was willing to fabricate my high ring down to a low ring to put it into this building. So I sold them on this concept of, we all came up with, wouldn't it be awesome if just anybody could join this wrestling school and we could make a whole separate pay-per-view room where we invite the fans to come and watch Monday Night Raw with us, or Friday or Tuesday, whatever. I don't even think it was on Friday nights yet, but SmackDown pay-per-views, and the fans can come in, and we'll have our TV tapings here, and it's for everybody. It's a club. And I was like, we all came up and we're like, wow, that's a great concept. So we go to this place. We get this place in Everett, Massachusetts, behind the what's now a 7-Eleven. It was originally a White Hen Pantry. It was so sketchy because you had to walk through an alley to get to it. It was up on the 2nd floor above a cabinet maker's place. So yeah, it was sketchy. So I don't think these guys had understood that, like, wrestling schools, like, you need to be patient. You're taking the money out of your pocket for a good year before you can legitimately pay the bills on time and right. Because, listen, you very rarely get the person that comes through your door with $1,750 to pay for a wrestling membership. So 90% of the times you're getting 100 from this kid, 50 from this kid, 25 from this kid. The 25 you might be getting every week. The 100 you might be getting once a month. So by the time it all comes into you, and it's like pulling teeth with these kids to get the money, you're only realistically, and with a new student, like, you always got a lump sum. You always got at least $250 plus first month. But in order to pay the bills, you got to hope you get 2 to 3 of those brand new guys that got 3 $200 to $400 for you, so you're able to put that together, pay the electric, pay the internet bill, pay the rent, just buy cases of water, upkeep for the ring. Like, they basically backed out on me 3 months in. And now I started to accumulate students. So you want me, because you ain't got no money no more, you want me to break all these kids' hearts and tell them the school's closing after 3 months because we're not pulling in enough money. I said, I can't do that. So I held it. I not only held it, but the building got sold. I had to relocate the school. When I went to relocate the school, 2 times it was out in my backyard in Wakefield, Massachusetts. And I was lucky to have a half a dozen kids still stick with me to come to my house and work out. And to keep DC Dillinger along with Eddie Edwards coming to my house to train these kids, okay? I get a place in Woburn. The guy lets me borrow a Brazilian jiu-jitsu mat for my padding. Needless to say, he didn't tell me it was some guy's padding, and I cut it on him. So I got into a fucking fight with a paralyzed Brazilian jiu-jitsu teacher that was in a wheelchair. I can't fight a guy that got no legs. I'm sorry. So I ended up getting thrown out of that place. So we go back to my backyard, and at the same time, I'm driving back to my house, and right down the street, they're building 2 what they call condo garages, which are 25 feet ceilings. They're 50-foot buildings. Well, they were cutting them in half, so they were 25 by 25 squares. The one that I rented was going to be ready in 2 months, so the guys agreed to stay with me. They loved the fact that we was getting a building. And, that was the second coming of what's now is still the Belltime Club training facility in Wakefield, Massachusetts. I basically held on to that one for about 2 years. And after my father had passed away, I was doing a lot of my real father. Had passed away in late 2000. Like, my daughter's 12 years old, so if it's 2022, my father probably passed away in 2012, 2013. So I moved up here. I've been doing a lot of wrestling in Canada. I was spending 7 months out of the year wrestling in Eastern Canada. So it saved a lot of miles on my gas. And I knew every promoter in the state of Maine, so I didn't lose out on anything. Was the talent worse? Yeah, Maine, other than with the huge movement of Randy Carver bringing quality wrestling into Maine wrestling was the absolute drizzling dog shits, and you would learn nothing here. So it was bad. So with that being said, I didn't even sell the Belltime Club to Beau Douglas. I just said, here, I don't want to disappoint any of these kids. This is the rent. These are the bills. That's my ring. And I have a rental once a month with the one outside. You make sure this gets taken care of. You send me $250. You keep the remaining of the $500. So I would donate the money back to those guys. After a year or so, I just got sick of owning everything and still having to, I had to make sure I was getting my money. I wasn't getting any benefit back from loaning my stuff to them anymore. I had given the company basically away. It would have been nice that you're using all my stuff, and there was realistically, I was giving money to them. I was splitting my ring rental, which was automatic money for them that they could put to the club. So it was kind of a rough breakup. But I hold no ill feelings because Beau has done an incredible job with the club. It's Beau's done a great job. He's produced some great guys that aren't giving him the gratitude. A guy like Channing Thomas, a guy like Alec Price, all began wrestling at the Bell Time Club in Wakeville, Massachusetts, being trained by the likes of Beau Douglas and Benny Jukes, who is a mainstay for the big time wrestling product, Benny. So yeah, the Bell Time Club is a great place to be.
I know you mentioned Game Changer before, but what do you watch as far as do you watch anything that's independent wrestling outside of that today? And who do you see becoming a big star and such in your in the independent scene these days?
I think if a guy like Alec Price puts on size, I think
eats a cheeseburger or two.
Yeah, I think Alec, when you look at him, just that face, you just want to kick him between the eyeballs. But
amazing talent. Yeah.
Yes, he's a great kid. But you put 25 pounds on that kid at different places, and I think that kid can be something. That stupid look he gives you with the lip curled up, and just how arrogant and like pompous he is. He's a fucking little prick. Like, I want to just punch him between the eyeballs when I see him, but at the same time I want to hug him and squeeze him and call him George. You know what I mean? That's the quote from a famous Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Hold him, squeeze him, and call him George.
Yep. And I love Alec. I love me some Alec Price. I believe another guy, and they're both Beau Douglas guys. I believe another guy is Channing.
Yeah.
Channing Thomas.
He's getting out there.
Great look, getting out there. Alec is working GCW next month, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I see him every week. He works on the Wrestling Open shows on IWTV.
Okay.
He's really, really good.
I'll give you one. I'll give you another one I really like, and he's a GCW guy. The kid there, dumb young and broke there, the blonde kid. I call him the love child of Beau Douglas. Oh man, I'm having a mind fart. But anyways, if the name comes up, he's a blonde kid. He looks like Beau Douglas's love child. Horrible that I would think the guy is a game changer, and I forget his name, but he's from Young, Dumb, and Broke, and he's one of the mainstays in GCW. Jordan Oliver.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. Okay. I remember him in
Jordan Oliver
when he was in MLW.
He does look like Beau Douglas.
Yeah. Yep. And he's put on size since the pandemic. He has put on size. Another guy, I'm going to be honest with you, that I love, another GCW talent that I can see. I love Atticus Koga.
Okay. All right.
Atticus Koga he could be the rough version of an Adam Cole, baby. He's got that Adam Cole look. He's got a mean streak when you look at him. Those ugly ass piercings that he got make him look rough and tough, as they say nowadays. Like, you know what I mean? Anybody that wants to fucking make them face a pincushion, man, you gotta, that's a tough motherfucker.
All right, Mick, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
I don't know. I think he's done. I think he's done enough, unless he's got more.
I listen. Why don't we save it for a part 2, and maybe I watch a little bit of some NWA action, and we can talk in about a month or so, and I can tell you what I think of Power and some of the other ones, because my wrestling watching will definitely open up in the next couple of weeks, because my work season ends. Kids are out of school, and I basically have the summer off. I am taking a small part-time job to spin some pizzas 3 nights a week, but
There you go.
Going to be able to make some money.
I think
Jason,
I
want
to thank you. Up and see you, brother.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming on tonight. This has been something I wanted to do for a very long time. I've seen you wrestle in person many years ago. So this was kind of like a dream come true in a way. So I want to thank you very much. I'm looking forward to definitely having you on again soon.
Oh, brother, I could do a part 2, part 3. I can go on. I can go on with like. I could even give some inside stories on what some of these the old school meetings were like. I can talk about the convention that happened in Corpus Christi and my meeting with Jeff Jarrett. We can save all that shit and just some of the things that happened. I got some good road stories too about the NWA.
I'd love to hear it all. Definitely. Thank you again.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. And anybody out there right now who's listening and they're like, wow, that Boston bad boy, he's a funny ass motherfucker. Go out and look me up on YouTube, Jason Rumble, or subscribe to my network, which is known as the Gorilla Position Network. And every week we have a live streaming round table of knuckleheads such as myself, my producer, Mickey Biggs, and we talk armchair fucking results from Monday Night Raw. We shit on Sasha Banks for being a douchebag, but and then I do my own. I do a New England sports podcast all on its own that's shared on that network. It's called Talking from the Cheap Seats with Rumble and my buddy, the Great Gazoo. Other than that, YouTube has my matches. And, like tonight, told a guy about Bob Backlund. He not only seen me against Bob Backlund, he got to see Rikishi back that ass up. Back that ass up. Back that ass up on my fucking nose, okay? Which, other than the $500 I got for that, that money smelled really good. You know what I mean? I get made fun of for that by students in the school, but they don't understand that was like, that's such an honor. Yeah, I'll take his ass to the face in front of 500 fucking people. Woo! Like, what other people other than wrestlers think that's cool? Okay? Me! Like I was like, oh, I'll do it. Like, but anyways, I greatly appreciate being on here, talking wrestling, NWA, my own life, your life. I just love to talk, and I greatly appreciate it. I look forward to coming on once again.
Absolutely. We're definitely going to have you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, boys.
Tell everybody when the next Gorilla Position show is on.
We will be on look for us either live on Fridays at 8 or Saturdays at 8 o'clock. And that's when you look for us. We're really not a live set thing. It's either Friday or Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And are we late like pro wrestlers usually are with bell times? Fuck yeah. Sometimes it's 8:30, but it's never no later. It wouldn't be true professional wrestling style if we wasn't late.
And the occasional Thursday, we do a Thursday Throwdown. But,
yep.
It's good time. So go
we
check
do
it
that on a holiday weekend usually. Even though this is a holiday weekend, I'm probably leaning towards, I believe, probably Saturday night. It's much better.
Yeah, I agree. Saturday night usually is better just because you've got the whole week of news that you can review and talk about.
Exactly. And right now, Friday night, my concentration is going to be into Game 6 of the Celtics, who have now just brought the series 3-2, bringing it home to TD Bank North Garden. My Celtics are one game away from being in the NBA Finals, and if they can win in the NBA Finals, Banner 18 comes to baby Boston Garden. Woo! I'm hoping
Wow,
for it.
how long has it been?
Never got that. Anything is possible.
How long has it been, Jason?
2008. We got banned 17.
Wow.
But the thing is, they started off their first 20 years with like every title. You go to the 80s and everybody talks about the 80s Celtics, and realistically, they got 3 of them. The Lakers realistically, even though they have 17 and the Celtics have 17, they got like 12 since 1980. It's amazing.
Nice.
Amazing. But anyways, if you want to hear me talk sports, the Gorilla Position Network, that's the only solid night upon my podcast right now is Wednesday nights, talking from the cheap seats, Rumble and the Gazoo. What you gonna do when we talk sports better than you?
Thank
Jason,
you very much.
Exactly. I'd like to thank you for coming on, Jason. It's been great. And as usual, we'll see you on the Gorilla Position.
All right, brother.
Make sure you tune into that, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.